So my first elected position was precinct committee person. And there's a story behind that. I actually wanted to get involved in politics, was thinking about it, heard about this precinct committee person position, but didn't know how you got involved in it. And then my ballot came in the mail, and there was a blank sheet of paper, and there was no one that had signed up to be a precinct committee person for our precinct. So my daughter was 18 at the time and could vote. She was a senior in high school. And my husband and I, the three of us, just wrote my name in and sent it in. And I didn't know, again, at the time, that in Oregon, 3 votes means that you're elected. So I had 3 votes around our dinner table, and I got the certificate in the mail that I was an elected precinct committee person several weeks later, and I just laughed when it arrived in the mail. I couldn't believe that I had actually won this election with 3 votes. So that was my first elected position.
I'm going to go back a little. Really wasn't elected, I was appointed, but I served on the Planning Commission in Sublimity. And actually, it was one of those things you walk in, new guy, suddenly you're even the chair. And it only lasted a year, a position to open up at mayor, and I now was involved enough. A little bit conflicted because I ran the garbage company that also serviced the town, but found out it's all right to do and how to distance yourself when those issues come up. So I did run for mayor and served 5 terms, 10 years. They went real fast. Little comment on being a mayor, it's kind of harder than this because you don't have some magnificent staff to go out and do your will. You kind of have to do it yourself. For example, one lady was having drainage troubles in the right-of-way. It's kind of the homeowners, but obviously she couldn't do it, so I put in the drain line myself. That's what I'm talking about. It was just a whole different deal. I was there for 10 years and then got involved with the Council of Governments, met a lot of the other players here in the Salem area, and seems like that kind of leveraged off into how I get here.
At some point in time, I always knew that I was going to give back, and I had a chance to go through the appointment process when our representative resigned in House District 19, and I thought this is a really good opportunity for me. And in 2005, I was appointed, and I served for 9.5 years in the legislature and was elected in 2006, 8, 10, and 12. So that's how I got started. But I served in a lot of other places before that in the community through volunteer positions and you know, contributed to organizations with my time and talents. And but this is what got me here today.
Well, I don't know if this is quite the right word, but I think it's eclectic. You can help me if it's wrong, but there's something different every day, every hour, so it's certainly interesting. The second one is the wonderful people we meet, both from the staff and from the public. I'm so terrible with names, it just kills me. But I do on a daily basis meet, you know, top people, intelligent people, fun people, and that's a big enjoyment of the job. And I don't know if that's 3 or not, but that's all you're going to get.
It's a lot of work. It is one of those things that you're very busy, you have a lot of meetings that you get to go to, and so the work is a collaborating job, I think, of facilitating people and meetings and trying to bring people together to get things accomplished for the betterment of the citizens of Marion County.
When I describe being a county commissioner to people, or even a state representative, I use the metaphor of the old Ed Sullivan show when they talked about spinning plates. I don't know if people are old enough to remember that, but when I was a little girl and Ed Sullivan was on, they had these people that would come out quite often on the Ed Sullivan show, and they'd have these really long poles, and they'd have these plates on the top, and then they would keep the plates spinning, and they'd move the poles back and forth, and you know, and keep these glass plates, and if they'd fall down, they'd crash and break. They very seldom did that. So the spinning plates that you have when you are involved in elected office, the first one is the policy issues that you work on. So you have your own interest areas that you bring to the job. Then you have the things that you have to do. So there's the things you want to do and then the things you have to do. So I would chalk up land use decisions, you know, like IT issues, property, you know, that type of thing that we have as Marion County Commissioners. So we have to be involved in everything. We can't just pick and choose. And then the third item is the constituent issues. So these are the community issues that you're working on. As a legislator, they tend to be people bringing problems to you. They want to solve a social security issue, so you connect them with their congressman, or they want to solve a problem with a state agency. Here, I actually delegate a lot of that to our staff here, but I also do work in the community. For example, last night I was at a fundraising committee meeting for the Big Toy in Kaiser, so those are kind of those nice community issues that you work on. So that's my spinning plates.
The things that I enjoy about it is the education piece of educating citizens, as well as listening to them, to have them educate me where I can help them and solve issues for them. I'll give you one example. We've been working on reentry. Commissioner Carlson's been working on that. She's a great leader in that. As a legislator, I was working on it with her, and we had a situation where a local contractor got a contract to clean the state windows through DAS. Yet DAS said no because they had a prior convicted felon on their payroll. And yet this gentleman had changed his life around, had served his time. And I was able to get DAS in the room, have them look at it from a different angle, and allow this gentleman to work on site, cleaning the windows at a state facility. So those are the types of things that you look back and you go, those are little individual things.
I've had many rewarding experiences as an elected official and as a county commissioner, but I think the thing that I'm most proud of is the work that has been done in Marion County with the Marion County Reentry Initiative. That group that has worked in reentry is probably the closest to the dictionary definition of collaboration of any group that I have seen. So it's been a really great experience working with all of these different sectors, bringing them together to try to improve the lives of people who have made mistakes in the past, committed crimes. They have victims. We have to keep that in mind. At the same time, they've paid their debt to society. They've gone to jail. They've gone to prison. They're now coming out. They want to start a new life. And so we're trying to figure out, how do we put them on the right course? And all of these people working together have done a great job. And then the big marker for that is the word that we call recidivism, which is that revolving door that you don't want them to commit a new felony crime within 3 years of getting out. And that rate has dropped from 37% in 2002 down to 14% in this year, which is remarkable. And it's through the good work that has been done by all of these different people. And I just get to be like the cheerleader and the champion and the money raiser. I mean, that seems to be a big part of my job, is to try to get the funding to be able to keep the services going. But I'm very, very proud of what we've done there.
In Sublimity, we had just passed a comprehensive plan, and actually just before I became mayor, actually maybe the year before I was on the Planning Commission. But when I read it, it talked about open space, and that resonated with me. But it wasn't the open space these land use planners have. They think, and you'll hear me say this different times, they think you squeeze all the people you can into a little area and then put a little park or some tiny green space. That isn't my vision of it. My vision open space is, and Sublimity, a rural community, an agricultural community, there's still active farming in town. Open space means just that. You do kick it out enough to have your own space and something special. So we changed the minimum lot size, made it like 10,000 feet where Salem might be 4. And it's kind of prevailed in one form or another for these 20, 30 years since then, and it makes it a special town. Now maybe no one else sees it, but every time I drive in, I know that it mattered to the lifestyle and the outlook and the feel and the popularity of the town.
One of the things that I think is really remarkable in Marion County is our solid waste program. It is a cutting edge program. If If you talk to Commissioner Brentano, he'll say that we're the best in the nation. I think we got #2 in the nation as an award in Florida a few years ago, so I know we rank way up there. We have the waste energy facility. We take the waste there, it gets burned. Then we create electricity with that through Covanta. And then these ash piles that are on the side of the road that you see when you're driving up I-5. They're really close to the way station on the left, just north of Woodburn. Each one of those cells contains about 10 years worth of our garbage. That was such a surprise to me when I learned that. Because if you think about it, if I look out on my street and I look at all of those barrels that people set out, and I drive into work and there's more barrels in my whole neighborhood, and then I think about the city of Salem, right, and all of the people that are putting all that garbage out every single week, and then I think we have 20 cities in Marion County, so it isn't just Salem and where I live, it's everywhere around the county. And you burn that and you put all of it together, and it just creates that one little hill for 10 years worth of garbage. That just amazed me.
Probably the diversity of programs within 2 departments that I don't think anybody has. And maybe it's not fair to just say 2, but it's the Sheriff's Department and Health Department are what come to mind. You know, the jail, parole and probation, gun permits, servicing, what's writs, I mean, it's so extensive, and I don't know how they manage it all. And then you watch our sheriff, undersheriff, the whole crew dealing so much with the legislature. Here in Marion County, they kind of get called on, I think, more than others because they're right here. But the involvement and the time the legislature takes has surprised me. I probably can just say this out loud. I'm probably not that thrilled with annual sessions because it takes that effort on a yearly basis instead of every other. And then the health department, gosh, there must be 30 or 40 different programs, and how they keep that organized and staffed. And then I have a granddaughter with some issues, and I've had those health department nurses come and offer help and ideas. And I know how important that was, and that they go out and make those services available all over the county. They do a terrific job. Nobody gives them credit, but they need to get it.
There's things that we do that I didn't know we did, and I think the average person out there has, really doesn't understand what we do in the services that are actually county services. A lot of it's funded by the federal government or the state government, but the county is actually the boots on the ground, and it's administering a lot of those programs. So the other thing is just the collaboration that I see within the staff, within the department heads, working together, breaking down the silos. That this is and something in our business world that we always said, when somebody says, that's not my job, I don't want to hear that. So at the county, I don't hear that either. I think people try to work together and solve problems, whether it's your department, their department, and how can the sheriff work with the health department. So I really appreciate that collaboration that I've seen. I don't know that somebody ever told me this, but I've given it to a lot of people advice. Election day is a victory either way. So I think that's one of the things that I could give people advice that want to get into politics. If you're going to get into politics and you can't take a defeat of an election or a defeat of a bill, or then you may not want to go there, because you have to work with other people, you have to listen to other people, and you've got to have your ideas that you stay strong and stand for, but you've got to collaborate and listen and adapt other people's ways as well. So it's one of those things that I know you have to be able to be a good listener and have empathy for other people, understanding for other people and where they're coming from. And most people will respect that, even if you make a decision that isn't the decision that they wanted you to make. But you listened to them and you understood them and you acknowledged them.
I'll start the best advice I received. It was, again, right after I started. I had kids playing in a basketball tournament in Pendleton at the time, so I went there, and then in between games I thought, well, this would be kind of fun. I'll go introduce myself to their local commissioners and see what somebody else does. It's just a great opportunity. So I went, and Bill Hansel was a longtime commissioner there. I really liked him. He's a Duck fan, it's a problem. But other than that, we hit it off right away. He's a state senator here in Salem now, still have a great relationship with him. But what his advice to me was, and I don't know if he spotted it, but it's really appropriate, was to talk a little bit, to explain what you're thinking. So the worst thing that can happen is you just say yes, no, and vote and move on, and leave people wondering, well, where did that come from, and how valid is that? I didn't think it through. So it's been a fight I have, but I think a lot of times that I try to at least give some indication of where I'm going and the things that are important to me in each issue, and it kind of goes back to Bill's advice. Now, I've given a lot of other people advice in wanting to run for office, even city council and sublimity, and you kind of got to build up to it and kind of build a resume. I was involved in the fire department and kind of my personal life. I dealt with all these communities. I knew players. But having those roles and involvement in whatever, then you're a legitimate candidate and you have enough experience in association with whatever entity you want to represent to do it.
One of the pieces of advice that I received from a person that I worked for when I first started in state government was, what he said, Janet, he said, you could do everything yourself. And so he really taught me the power of delegating to people and the importance of sharing the work, and how that really just basically makes what I do that much, it just broadens it. I mean, it just makes it so that it makes it possible for me to do so much more than what I could do just by myself. So advice that I would have for someone who's interested in local government, I think the first piece of advice that I usually give people is to just start learning about it, to attend meetings, to sign up and perhaps be on a committee, to volunteer like at the Marion County Fair, or we have groups that can pull weeds out on Kubler Boulevard, or work in parks, or there's just all kinds of things people can do. In Marion County we need mentors at the health department, and so it's a great opportunity to get to know people, to start understanding the issues, and then just go from there.
I hesitate a little bit because this issue is talked about a lot, but since you qualified it with enough, it's the condition of our roads. Our bridges are suspect. They have a sufficiency rating, they call them, and 100 is brand new, and I don't even know the number right off, but we're in the 50s and 60s, a lot of them. But I can't even figure out how we'll pay for those repairs. We've typically waited for the federal government to come through, and they would have a program every couple of years, but I think there's like 150, I'm terrible with numbers, but it's like that, it's that many bridges in Marion County in various stages of repair, just repair, and no real plan to comprehensively, rebuild and make sure they're adequate for the needs.
So the issue, I think that it's an important issue, and it probably is being talked about, but not to the extent that it needs to be talked about, and that is the needs of people who are mentally ill. So what happens is that you have some big event where there's a shooting in Colorado, or some other violent action of someone that has a mental illness, and then everybody gets really concerned about that. But the issue is that we need to have continuing services for people who are mentally ill, to be able to help them to function in a way that that they can have